Welcome to Tuesday. It's March 21st, 2023. Your day weather podcast being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily and also being brought to you by WYDOT. Well, what does the weather fox say? Well, quite a bit, because we're going to be embarking on a pattern that's going to be very March-like. Things are going to get a lot more busy coast to coast, but across a lot of the region, it's going to kind of just look and feel more like March. We kind of saw that yesterday with the way those clouds looked. We saw some scattered areas of rain and snow shower activity, and temperatures were at least a little bit closer to normal. And it's going to be this way here for a while. This means ups and downs. And this also means stay close to the forecast in the sense that don't go too far out in terms of the forecast you look at the phone or on the web, because it's going to be a changeable forecast in the coming days. This means more mountain snow is coming in waves again. There's going to be snow, rain, and thunder late today, tonight, and Wednesday across the region. Mixed bag of weather. This is where you'll have the sun out. Next minute, you'll have a heavy snow squall. Sun will be back out again. Then maybe a snow squall with thunder. All of those things in the mix as the Pacific is throwing more at us. It's going to be best described as unsettled and cool Thursday into Saturday. Basically, Thursday into Saturday will bring off and on showers to the plains and in the mountains. It'll be cool. There's an area in northern Wyoming, western areas of South Dakota, southern Montana, where a piece of this energy might bring a little bit more in the way of significant snow early in the weekend to that I-90 corridor. We'll talk about that here in a minute. These storm systems are coming in pieces. And when they come in little pieces like this, you don't have large areas, but small areas where there could be larger impacts. There is also a trend now to where colder weather and increasing snow chances could develop for maybe some front range areas Sunday into Monday and maybe into the western plains as well. So there's a lot going on. Before we get to the meat of the forecast, there's a couple of things I just want to highlight for you. As we saw the first day of spring yesterday, and we've been talking about the La Nina has finally faded and that things are changing rather quickly in the Pacific. The latest sea surface temperature anomaly shows that big warm up right here. So the atmosphere eventually is going to respond to this warming trend in the Pacific, basically adding more energy to the atmosphere, more water vapor as well. And this contrast right here between the colder and the warmer waters will continue to be a breeding ground for lows. And we're also looking at a contrast between these warmer waters here and these cooler waters here, helping to develop what is basically another little jet stream along the southern branch. And you'll see that in the satellite imagery. And also, this is a satellite loop from yesterday. Since yesterday was the first day of spring, what I want you to look at is near the equator. And what I want you to look at is what is a roundish, opaque little bright spot that is moving west across the equator region. What you're seeing is basically the sun glare right on the equator here on the first day of spring, right along and just north of it there. And this is a good example to show you how the seasons change and how much that sun angle and that sun energy really adds a lot of energy to the atmosphere as we change seasons. While the weather, this is a good way to show you how the weather is going to be changing as we get into the spring season. The very intense sun near that equator region right there is just putting a lot of energy, warming those sea surface temperatures up. And I talked about that southern branch of the jet stream, kind of a little bit of that moisture coming in, the atmospheric river, Pineapple Express, whatever you want to call it. But that flow of moisture coming on in, as this area is heated more and it's still colder up here, you get a stronger southern branch of a jet stream developing along with the polar jet, which is still active coming up into here. So there's a lot going on, and you can see the cold, moist air off the Pacific here. There's a low pressure center coming in off of the Gulf of Alaska. So the equator's getting heated. The seasons are changing. There's a lot of energy getting fed into the system, and that eventually creates our more active weather as we go on. And yesterday, they updated the forecast, and we're basically going to be in neutral territory going into what is going to be either a neutral status into summer and into early fall, or a weak El Nino. That's still there. and the probabilities of an El Nino are 50-60% going into late summer. Now, back to the forecast. So here's a close-up of the West Coast, California getting heavy rain this morning in Southern California. That'll come into Northern California later on. This little wave right here did produce some snow showers overnight over the mountains and across some areas of the plains. This system now is going to head up into North and South Dakota, producing several inches of snow today, tonight, and into tomorrow morning. It's not much, but this is what's been happening up in the northern plains. These little systems coming off the Pacific, hitting that colder air coming south out of Canada and producing light to moderate snows. So you notice there's a little gap between systems right there. But this system is heading in and will bring a swath of moist, unstable air off the West Coast and into the Rockies. And you can see it on the 500 millibar chart this morning. There's that upper low headed towards the Dakotas, and here's that very impressive low coming into California right now. Now by tomorrow, noon tomorrow, the California low, you see how it weakens? It does get itself organized, but there's a tight contrast between temperature right there, which is going to cause a lot of instability. And this is going to produce heavy snow and instability in Colorado's high country into the mountains of Utah. Then across the plains, there's going to be areas of rain and snow showers. And as we mentioned, thunder. This is the thunderstorm forecast where there could be lightning strikes today. So California going to be experiencing some thunderstorms, maybe near Las Vegas as well. By the afternoon hours of Wednesday, into the Central Rockies, even some thunderstorm activity in Nebraska and Kansas. This is where you get heavy snow from these snow showers in the mountains, where you get those whiteouts on the ski slopes. Sometimes you even get thunder snow because of the moist, unstable air that you start to get this time of year. So folks traveling along Interstate 80 and I-70 and even parts of I-15 here over the next couple of days, but especially tomorrow and tomorrow night, watch out for that. Here's the precipitation forecast through Friday. So you can see the heavy moisture coming through California, then into the Rockies. You can see the moisture does get out on into the plains here in the form of rain, snow, and thunderstorm activity. Not real organized east of the divide, but there's going to be some moisture spilling over. So if you're going to be traveling Wednesday night into the Thursday morning, it's a mixed bag. It'll be warm enough to start as rain in some areas, but as you get up a little bit higher, it could be heavy, wet spring snows coming on through. And here's your snowfall forecast through Friday morning. So travelers, keep that in mind. Now, as we get into the weekend, it gets messy, and you'll see here in a moment. We've got that low that is coming through Wednesday into Thursday, moving out into the plains. This will be a weather maker, causing thunderstorms and active weather in the Midwest. This elongated area of low pressure is going to be something to watch as we get into the weekend. We're getting some disagreement in the models, which we expect this time of year, but it could be a forecast that one day is dry, the next day there's snow in the forecast. That's why I'm giving you a heads up here, because this low coming in out of Washington and Oregon could very well slide into Utah and western Colorado here by Sunday morning. And this could end up being a bit more of a weather maker than a lot of forecasts are showing at the moment as we get into the Sunday-Monday time frame. But we just have to see how things shake out. And as we showed you yesterday, we get a broad trough carved out over the west, which means the tendency will continue to be for colder than normal conditions. Now, this is the second round of precipitation that would fall from Saturday through Monday if all of this comes together. So there's another swath of moisture that will come through the Rockies and possibly on into the plains during the second half of the weekend and into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And there's potentially where the snow is going to be. Take this with a grain of salt. It's March. Things could change, but it does look like we've got a lot of activity between now and early next week. Have yourself a good Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.